Imagine a field where it was filled with tall grasses, a bit like the ones just behind me, but taller still and greener, where if you entered, there's no chance in hell that you will ever make it out alive again, ever. Hello everyone, welcome to Harry's Book Cafe. What I have said in the intro is the basic premise of the book, or rather the short story Long Grass by Stephen King and Joe Hill. The particular story has been made into a Netflix series which I've watched, and the short story I have read. Joe Hill, for those of you who are not familiar with, he is actually the I got a dog coming in. Joe Hill, for those of you who are not familiar with Stephen King, he is the son of Stephen King. His full name is Joseph Hillstorm King. He is a writer of his own right. He has written quite a few horror stories, although I haven't had a chance to read them just yet. But yeah, let's talk about this short story / novella in the tall grass. I have purchased this one on Kindle for quite some time ago. I never really had a chance to actually read it. And this is the first Stephen King novel I have read in quite a long time. And even within the first sort of chapter, first couple paragraphs, it became very apparent that this is a Stephen King book, because he possesses a very, very unique writing style, and it becomes very apparent even just the first chapter. And I love his style. It's very, I don't know, he's very flexible with the English language. I think being American is helpful with how he just uses the language in an entirely different way than most of the other writers, and I really love that style. As I said, this is the first Stephen King novel I have read for a long time. It is, however, not the best. Stephen King over the years has produced, as we all know, some amazing work of literature. So The Stand is still my all-time favorite work of fiction, all time. This is number one, and it has been for a very, very long time. Green Mile, again, another masterpiece by the king of literature. Shawshank Redemption, just amazing. Misery, Pet's Sematary. There are so many amazing works, but some of his early works are a little bit hit and miss. And those are, I have concluded, those hit and miss novels are mostly deal with the supernatural. And I don't mean the supernatural like ghosts or vampires or werewolves. I mean, those supernatural phenomena has been well documented in the world of literature, you know, starting from the turn of the screw, Dracula. I mean, they have a long, illustrious literature tradition going back to the Victorian times. You know, we are so familiar with ghosts, hauntings and vampires. They are scary and they are accepted in our popular culture. But some of the Stephen King novels, the one that is really flopped, are dealing with supernaturals that just not very familiar with our popular culture. So for instance, the novel Desperation, it was dealing with alien artifacts that sort of make people mad. And a very well-known work of fiction, it dealt with, you know, the final villain is actually a giant spider. And it's just like, to me at least, those novels sort of loses grip of imagination, grip of power on my imagination at least, because he was dealing with something that's so unfamiliar with most people. It ceases to amaze or to scare. It just becomes a little bit, not ridiculous is the wrong word, it just lost its power. And unfortunately, the novel that we're talking about today in the tall grass falls into that category, because the villain or the object that's making everybody loses their way into the tall grass is a stone, a boulder, a massive stone that's the size of a track. It sort of changes the direction. Anyway, a little bit more on that particular stone just a little bit later. But I want to tell you a little bit more about the synopsis of the novel or novella, or short story, whichever you want to call it. So it involves a couple of siblings, a brother and sister. They drove to this part of Missouri, I think, and just by the roadside they heard a cry for help from a little boy inside the tall grasses, just like this but greener. It was faint at first, so they stopped the car, rolled down the window, and that call for cry becomes stronger. Help! I lost my way, I can't get out. So those two good-hearted Samaritans decided to help. There's a church right by the roadside. They decided to park the car by the roadside, by the church parking lot. When they get out of the car, they did notice, but didn't take it into their head. What they have seen is a bunch of cars all parked on this car park. All of them are covered in dust, and some of them has flat tires, suggesting that they have been parked there for quite a long time. They noticed that, but it really didn't really take it into heart. And one of them has a burger left half eaten in the passenger side, and is completely ridden with maggots. So it's very graphical descriptions. By the way, guys, this novel is actually, this short story is very, very brutal, and here are some trigger warnings. It involves in cannibalism. It involves in eating dead baby. So if you're not comfortable with it, please, this might not be the video for you. Anyway, continue with the synopsis. They then ventured into the grass, and the moment they went in, bam, they are lost. They are separated. The moment they went into the grass, bam, they are completely lost their way. The siblings got separated, and they start searching the kid as well as each other. The story then separated in two separate branches. One branch is based on a woman's experience, the other one is on the brother's experience. So the woman was wandering around, she got really tired, by the way, she's pregnant. And suddenly came out of nowhere this man who told her that he knows the way out. He is the father of the child who is calling for help. He knows exactly where the way out is, he knows where her brother is, if you just follow him, right? But we got the sense of something is not quite as it seems, because the man is clearly insane, because he cackles for no apparent reason, and his facial expressions are all over the place, like something out of sync, right? So the woman was on her high alert and just followed him, and he said, "You need to see my wife first. You need to see my wife first, because I like to introduce my family." So everything just pointed towards a little bit untowards, right? Everything is pointing towards something that's quite sinister. Anyway, she's followed him, and what did she see but a severed arm belongs to a woman, bloody and severed, laying somewhere to the entrance of a clearing. The clearing is where the stone is located. Anyway, so she sees that arm, all bloody, and she sees some turned hair, blonde hair, and then she walked further, she saw this crop of a woman with one of her arms completely severed, and there are bite marks on her legs and bite arm on the rest of her torso. As it turned out, the husband has been eating her because he was hungry. And then we see the stone. The stone is like massive, the size of a beer truck. And all he said is, "You need to touch this stone. You need to touch this stone, and you will know the way out. You will know everything." She clearly didn't trust him, and she refuses, and he decided to attack her. Fortunately for her, she has a bunch of keys in her pocket, and she grabbed one of them and just popped his eyes with one of the keys. So that part of the description was very, very graphical. And then we were told the story from the brother's perspective. He broke down in tears because he couldn't find his sister, and it was, the darkness has descended, the sun has gone. And he was crying basically in the field, and then suddenly a kid out of nowhere jumped out behind him and told him, "I'm the kid that you're looking for, and I know the way out if you just follow me." See the familiarity? Took him to this clearing, showed him the stone, and there's some vivid description of the stone, and that part really lost on me because, as I've said before, alien artifacts just... Anyway, so he touches stone in the end. The stone has some sort of superpower. It gives him the knowledge of what's going on within this field. He knows where his sister is. And he's been turned. He's been turned into the kid's dad, right? Similar sort of sinister and similar sort of evil. So yeah, this is going to be the disgusting part, the trigger warning I have referred it in the beginning of the video. So if you're not comfortable with this, please just speed up for the next 30 minutes to a minute or so, 30 seconds to a minute or so. So together they find his sister. She has actually given birth because of the shock of the assault. She managed to give birth to this, or miscarried her child, and managed to give the baby who's already dead. Brother and the child started to proceed to eat the dead baby. When the woman wakes up, they fed her the dead baby, and she ate it because she didn't know better. She was delirious, all right, with the ordeal that she had gone through. So it was very disgusting descriptions, quite gory and descriptive. That is pretty much where the story ends in the actual novella. The movie, however, makes a little bit more. Actually, the movie I think is a bit better than the book itself. So the movie follows the basic premise of the storyline, except it introduces a little bit more characters. It introduces the character of the woman's boyfriend who impregnated her. He actually came to this place to look for his girlfriend and his girlfriend's brother because they failed to turn up. He ended up in these fields and he started calling. But the movie actually introduced something that's really quite clever. It introduced this time loop, because what I've told you about, you know, the death of the woman and her baby and the disgusting thing that's been going on in the field, in the movie, it added an element of time loop. So what happened, whatever has happened before is happening again and again and again. It's like a never-ending circle. But the injection into the story of the woman's boyfriend has the potential to change that, and that's exactly what happened. I don't want to tell you too much about the movie because I truly think the movie is better than the novel. The novel is quite short. It's around 50 pages. But the movie has expanded on that and it really make it sort of work. It has to expand it to make it a movie length. And in the process of doing that, really did a good job, I think. It's not the best movie, don't get me wrong, far from it. But compared to the book, it's a little bit better. That's it, guys. That's the end of this episode. I hope you like it. It is a short episode, I guess. And it's unusual to come across a book of Stephen King that I don't love. I don't dislike it, I just indifferent to this particular one. I do think his recent ones are much better. So for instance, the Mr. Mercedes, you know, is almost like a crime novel rather than his traditional horror, and they are so much better, in my opinion anyway. But anyway, guys, this is a new channel, so if you haven't already, please give it a thumb up and subscribe. It really does help with the YouTube algorithm, so every little helps, right? Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Cheerio.